Right now, I'm going to take a big old dump on the ground, and then I'm going to throw it at you.
In this world, cesspool of kindness and ethical blindness. So please excuse my sarcastic tone. I'm a bit underwhelmed by the sample shown. Mr. Piss-Drunk fraternity guy, you got my ass full of bloodshot eyes. Get drunk and fight every night. Idolize Bradley, belittle women's rights. Homophobic, racist, and don't give a fucking hey. Do you think you can drive a bigger truck? So wear your baseball cap to decide to let everyone know that you're a nice guy. So cool, we're so impressed. Lots of chicks in a barrel chest. Cause you're a real man. Punch for punch, gonna piss in your face while you're passed out drunk. I'm a nice guy, you're a nice guy. He's a nice guy, but all of you are assholes. I'm a nice guy, you're a nice guy. She's a nice guy, but all of you are assholes. Nice guys rule the planets. I just can't understand it. Conquer divine by deception and lies. Social Darwinism and an overdose of pride. Fuck off, jerk off. I don't wanna hear it. Fuck off, jerk off. Read into the lyrics, cause everybody gets their just desserts. As long as you remember that nice guys finish first. You're next on the list. Such a nice guy who speaks through his fists. Prick with a penchant for messing with heads. A broken nose for dinner and breakfast in bed. Alcoholic, paranoid, and suicidal too. But you'll probably kill her before she gets away from you. She lives in a pool of blood and cry. All your friends say that you're a nice guy. Have a drink, this one's on me. Look, you're doing fine, losing to your disease. Comatose, I'll pack your bags. Bury you like a treated guy. I'm a nice guy, you're a nice guy. We're all nice guys, but all of you are assholes. He's a nice guy, she's a nice guy. Hey, Tom Bone's a nice guy. All of you are assholes. Nice guys rule the planet. The public demented. Conquer the body by deception and lies. Social Darwinism and an overdose of pride. Fuck off, jerk off. I don't wanna hear it. Fuck off, jerk off. Read into the lyrics. So let the flunkies will quench your thirst. As long as you remember that nice guys finish first.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Plex. We do the show live every Sunday at 7 p.m. Pacific right here on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/EchoPlexMedia. If you'd like to support this project, which I would like if you did, you can go to echoplexmedia.com and click the support link at the top of the page. If you want to do monthly subscriptions, those are through Patreon at patreon.com/echoplex or through Fourth Wall at eplex.store. And when you do that, $5 or higher a month, you get the entire show, including Red Light for this and our other podcasts sent to you, and you get them a day earlier than they come out on the podcast apps. I'm producer Dave. You can find me on Grindr, and this is what the people want.
I don't hate the cops. There's a person inside when the truncheon stops. Oh, don't hate the cops. Oh, when the raiders come, who will protect the shops? Don't hate the cops. They're a sensitive bunch if you don't stop throwing your rocks. Snap, crackle, pop is the sound of a taser. Your body drops, don't hate the cops. Don't hate the cops, don't hate the cops. Don't hate the cops. Like your local police, 'cause they don't do nothing wrong like your local police. Got rid of the corruption and the racism is gone. They've been keeping the peace, keeping homeless folks out of the parks and malls. Got a cure for your social disease. Follow the law, don't hate the cops. 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 Put your hands above your head and show you're not afraid. I'm the fairest judge that your skin color's gonna get. And if you die before the sun comes up, the paperwork will take forever. Well, it might have worked out a little bit better if you didn't hate the cops. 'Cause they don't do nothing wrong, don't hate the cops. You can't blame them for just doing their job, don't hate the cops. Well, you gotta wonder, how much would it cost for you to be shot at and stabbed at by maniacs and drunks? Don't hate the cops, don't hate the cops. Don't hate the cops, don't hate the cops. Don't hate the cops. Don't hate the cops, don't hate the cops. Don't hate the cops, don't hate the cops.
All right, sometimes you find something so fucking crazy that it has to go first. Here's the former president talking about how he's trying to get hostages out of Gaza.
The stories they told me, I mean, as an example, I said to them, was there any sign of love? You were there, 10 people. It's only 10, but it's pretty representative. Did the Hamas show any signs of, like, help or liking you? Did they wink at you? Did they give you a piece of bread extra? Did they give you a meal on the side, like, you know, you think of doing? Like what happened in Germany, what happened elsewhere. People would try and help people that were in unbelievable distress. They said no. I said all of them. I said, did they ever wink at you like, you'll be okay, you're going to be okay? No, they didn't do that. They'd slap us.
They wink at you.
The hatred is unbelievable. And the lives, you know, they lived in a pipe, not really a tunnel, it was a pipe. And they always thought they were suffocating, they were going to suffocate. And then
did they ever wink at you? Did they give you an extra meal? You know, like the Germans did. Oh my God. Oh my fucking God. Here we are, folks. This is where we're at. This is just how it's going, I suppose. Now we're going to talk about the tariffs, because of course we are. Here is, your meds are going to get more expensive because it's the patriotic thing to do.
but we're going to tariff our pharmaceuticals, and once we do that, they're going to come rushing back into our country because we're the big market. The advantage we have over everybody is that we're the big market. So we're going to be announcing very shortly a major tariff on pharmaceuticals, and when they hear that, they will leave China, they will leave other places because they have to sell, most of their product is sold here.
He just thinks this, I don't think he believes this. I think there's something else going on here, but it's as if he thinks that just, if you put a tariff on something on Tuesday, by Wednesday, they'll just be making it in the United States. This is fucking great. Oh no. Did you know also that China, they're going to pay a big number to the treasury it's almost like we're taxing China. It's totally going to work, and the guy's not going to have backed down on it this week.
China will now pay a big number to our Treasury. This is all taxes. And don't let them keep telling you that this is a tax on our people. I hate that. You know, they say it's a tax. No, often much of it is paid. And hey, look what happened during my first term.
Often much of it is paid. And hey, look what happened during my first term. Oh, my fucking God, dude. We got more. Did you know that they're calling and kissing his ass? That's what they're doing. Everyone knows it. It's true.
I'm telling you, these countries are calling us up, kissing my ass. They are dying to make a deal. Please, please, sir, make a deal. I'll do anything. I'll do anything, sir. And then I'll see some rebel Republican, you know, some guy that wants to grandstand, say, I think that Congress should take over negotiations. Let me tell you, you don't negotiate like I negotiate. Congress takes over negotiating. Sell America fast because you're going to go busted. You don't. I just saw it today. A couple of your congressmen said, I think we should get involved in the negotiation of the tariffs. Oh, that's what I need. I need some guy telling me how to negotiate.
So I'd be willing to bet that if you started asking world leaders, if you try to like pin him down on which world leaders were like kissing his ass, he'd say, oh, all of them. And then like, it would just be amazing because I don't think anybody called to kiss this guy's ass. I think they probably called to be like, what the fuck are you doing? Oh no, here's more. Here's him taking some questions from reporters. I spoke to a lot of European leaders, European and Asian, from all over the world. Just all over the world. And they all want a deal. They all want to make a deal, and nobody makes a deal like me.
You talked to a lot of leaders this weekend. Can you tell us, sir, were there any deals made?
I spoke to a lot of leaders, European, Asian, from all over the world. They're dying to make a deal. But I said, we're not going to have deficits with your country. We're not going to do that because to me a deficit is a loss. We're going to have surpluses or we're at worst going to be breaking even. But China would be the worst in the group because the deficit is so big and it's not sustainable. And you know, I was elected on this. This was one of the biggest reasons I got elected was exactly because of this. And we're going to put tariffs, we've already put them on. It's not a question of we will. We're going to put them on. And those tariffs next year will make us $1 trillion. In addition to the $1 trillion, thousands of companies are going to relocate back into the United States.
No, they're not. No, they're not. Oh, this is so cooked. None of this is going to happen. It's just going to fucking tank. It's just going to tank our economy. And he's like, oh, well, we would like to have a trade surplus with everyone. Well, if everyone can't have a trade surplus with everyone, my God. Did you know that Europe owes the United States reparations? I had no idea, but the Europe owes reparations to the United States. I don't know what for, but they owe reparations.
And we take their cars, Mercedes, Volkswagen, BMW. You know, we take their millions of cars. They take no cars. They don't take our farm product. They don't take anything. Europe's treated us very badly. We put a big tariff on Europe. They are coming to the table. They want to talk. But there's no talk unless they pay us a lot of money on a yearly basis. Number one for present, but also for past. Because they've taken a lot of our wealth away, and we're not going to allow it to happen.
Sir, have you talked?
They're going to have to fucking pay us reparations for building fucking Mercedes-Benz, those assholes. Mercedes-Benz building assholes. Now we're going to move on to some of the reaction from the press and from politicians about all this. It's, you know, what's pretty weird is every once in a while, Brian Kilmeade, who is possibly one of the possibly the dumbest person in media. I don't know, the dumbest person on cable TV for sure, right? Because Dave Rubin isn't on cable TV. And he's going to accidentally stumble across one of the things about tariffs that are bad when talking to a representative from Ford.
So one thing I've found out is that even though you're the most American-made car, we don't make everything that goes into that car. I mean, for example, leather seats, the best leather. We don't really do much for leather seats in mass production here in this country. You got to go elsewhere. Have you been able to explain that to the White House? You could have the best intentions, but you just don't have the material and the manufacturing here yet, and you don't want to be penalized.
Absolutely, and the White House gets that, and that's why yesterday the new tariffs on companies generally don't apply to automobile manufacturers in particular. We have our own set of tariffs, of course, that was announced about a week ago. And you're absolutely right. There's a global system for supplying car parts, and as a major manufacturer, we're part of that.
So, Steve, what country, it's just boxing Ford and GM and Chrysler out, that you want to get access to? Maybe you could give us what it's like. You know, certain countries love
China circuit boards. Cars are just rolling computers now.
I mean, I don't really see many Ford F-150s in Germany, right?
Yeah. Well, we sell around the world, but in most of those other major markets, we have manufacturing in local markets or in local regions. Our Ranger truck is super popular globally. We make that in 5 different locations around the world. We're going to keep.
So if you have to get a part from another country and there's a tariff on that part, how can you not charge more for your car? Don't you have to charge more for the car? Because your margins on an average car sale are not great.
Look, we are a small margin industry. There's no question about that. And sooner or later, yeah, these prices are going to work their way through the system. But it's not a switch. So we don't have to charge more on cars today. Like I say, we have a pretty good stock, and it's that savings that we're going to pass on. But, the dust is going to settle on this thing, no doubt, over the next few months and beyond.
All right. Thanks so much.
Wonder where they make the leather seats. I thought that because there's such a huge cattle industry here that we would have leather, but maybe it's like France or Italy or something where the leather seats come. I don't know. But Brian Kilmeade just stumbled upon one of the problems here is like, sure, the automakers are making their cars in the U.S., but you think about the ICs, the little integrated circuits. A lot of that comes from TSMC. The boards that those come on, maybe that's put together in China or possibly India. Tires, I don't know where the tires are made. Are the tires made here in the United States? Is everything used to make the tires from here in the United States? Like the supply chain is global, and this is just monumentally stupid. This is mind-expandingly stupid. You do so much better for everybody by possibly making better free trade agreements than by doing what the White House is trying to do here. Free trade agreements have their problems too, but you end up doing better for everyone. Up next, we got Cory Booker. I know. He's going to talk about the economy and Trump.
Look, it was bad, really bad for Americans before these tariffs. Inflation was up, costs of living was up, consumer confidence was down. We saw all of these things that were already betraying what his promises were to a lot of people that put their faith in him, that he would make their cost of living better. But now it is a true just taking a battle axe to the economic well-being of Americans, and frankly, having an effect that's going across the globe. And so let's just start with the reality is that this is going to drive prices even higher for Americans, thousands of dollars to the average American's annual cost of living. For people that have 401k accounts, their retirement security, they've lost thousands and thousands. I've been hearing from people who had helped to retire this year after working for 25, 30, 35 years, but now don't think they have the money because he's taken $6 trillion overall out of the markets. And then just to see all these big economic indicators start to project a recession, it just shows that this man, first of all, knows nothing. Even his right-wing supporters, right-leaning think tanks like the American Enterprise Institute have said even the justification that he's making, the data that he's relying on is flawed and convoluted and not based in any kind of strategy or science or economics. So this just shows exactly what we were saying about Donald Trump before he got in here. This is what his own former chief of staff was saying, what his own former secretary of defense was saying. All these people said that he was a danger to the national security, a danger to our economy, a danger and a real risk of the continuance of our country.
So the other thing that I was thinking with all this, are we going to tariff? Are we not going to tariff? The market goes down, the market goes up, the market goes down, the market goes up. There's a lot of opportunity for like insider trading and like a pump and dump. There's a lot of opportunity for people, maybe if they have an insider information to like short sell. There's like all kinds of opportunity for fraud in this. And I feel like maybe that's what's going on here versus like trying to put tariffs on other countries. The other thing that's also likely is homeboy loves personal grievance, right? He lives and breathes personal grievance. And other countries, the leaders of other countries don't take him seriously. They don't like him and they think he's an asshole. And they probably think he's a dumb fuck. And so that being the case, he wants to attempt to punish them, but he doesn't understand that all he's doing is making himself look real bad in doing this. And he's not punishing other countries, really. Also, if you could imagine, all this stuff isn't great for tourism. Maybe people don't want to come visit the United States. Not just the tariffs, but like the way that the immigration officials and borders and customs officials are behaving. Just really not super good for terrorism or for tourism.
So what are you doing about the impact what are you doing about the impact of international tourism and now these blanket tariffs having a negative impact? What are you doing to address that?
The whole sentence, Senator, said that we need to get away from government spending as funding our economy and financialization, and we need to move to real goods and services, including the tourism you're talking about.
So what are you doing to impact the
important.
negative impact of tourism right now?
Well, one thing I'll say is we can't have the status quo, right? I keep hearing that we should have, essentially what I'm hearing is we should have the status quo. We should keep the $1.2 trillion trade deficit that Biden left us with.
I'm asking you,
and I don't think that's adequate.
What are you doing in this administration to address now the impact that you're having with these blanket tariffs, not targeted tariffs, blanket tariffs, on international tourism that is a big impact to our economy? What are you doing to address that?
Well, Senator, as we're talking to all of these countries, we are talking about services. We are talking about making sure that we can export services to other countries. A lot of those that we export are, we have
well, let me say
services,
I only have so much time, and apparently you're not. So here's what I would like, because you haven't thought about this, and the administration hasn't really thought about it, because I haven't heard anybody talking about tourism. So why don't you come talk to me in my office, and let's talk about and put a plan together, because these blanket tariffs are having an impact on tourism in my state and across the country.
Senator,
so
I'm happy
instead
to
of just defending it, why don't you just come sit down with some of us and try to address the concerns that we are seeing and feeling in our states that this administration has not taken into account?
I'm happy to come speak with you. Thank you, Senator.
Yeah, people don't want to come visit this fucking country right now. It's not just the tariffs or whatever. They just don't like us. They're like this. There's a country of bullies and guns and bullies and bullies and guns. That's the American way. And I think it's going to be interesting because it's probably not going to affect like San Francisco, New York, maybe not Miami, but possibly Miami. But it's going to affect like other places. Like places that aren't the huge tourist draws that like San Francisco and New York, maybe Los Angeles are. I think it's going to affect like medium-sized like tourist destinations and below. I think that's where the hit's going to happen. I don't think people are less likely to go to New York because of all this. But who knows? I could be wrong. We have the Prime Minister of Singapore now is talking about this tariff regime in the Trump administration. The rest of the world, these countries are like historically our allies and trading partners, and they're all not super happy.
But what the U.S. is doing now is not reform. It is rejecting the very system it created. The U.S. has imposed a blanket 10% tariff on imports for nearly all countries. On top of that, it has layered on higher tariffs, up to 50% for selected countries, especially those that run a trade surplus with the U.S. According to the administration, the sweeping tariffs are needed to fix America's trade imbalances. But there is nothing inherently wrong about running a trade deficit. It simply means that American consumers are buying more from the world than the world is buying from America. Moreover, the focus has been solely on the goods trade. That only gives a partial picture. In fact, the US runs a surplus with many of its trading partners in services, exporting software services, education, entertainment, financial and business services. But this fact has been completely ignored.
That's a good fucking point. Yeah, the other thing is the United States exports a lot of IP, intellectual property, right? Like Hollywood, Silicon Valley. Lots of IP gets exported too.
In Singapore's case, we have an FTA with America. We impose zero tariffs on US imports, and we actually run a trade deficit with the US, meaning we buy more from them than they do from us. If the tariffs were truly reciprocal, and if they were meant to target only those with trade surpluses, then the tariff for Singapore should be zero. But still, we are being subjected to the 10% tariff. We are very disappointed by the US move, especially considering the deep and long-standing friendship between our two countries. These are not actions one does to a friend. Asia bears the brunt of the US tariff increase. Within the region, China is the hardest hit, facing a 34% tariff this round. And this is on top of the 20% tariff increase imposed over the last 2 months and the 20% from the first Trump administration. So taken together, the average US tariff on Chinese products now exceeds 60%. In Southeast Asia, the tariff rates range from 10% to 49%. These measures will accelerate the fracturing of the global economy. Instead of flowing based on economic efficiency, capital and trade will increasingly be diverted based on political alignment and strategic considerations.
Yeah, that guy's like, well, wait a minute. He's like, we actually import more from you than you import from us as far as goods. Why are you still slapping a tariff on us? And it turns out that he's just doing it because he thinks, I don't know what he thinks is going to happen. I think he thinks these countries are just going to fucking be, 60% on all the goods is here. Here's a check for 60% of all this to the U.S. Treasury. Nobody's going to have to raise prices. We'll just take care of it. Or something like that. Or maybe there's some value in disrupting the global trade order for Donald Trump and people like him. I don't know. This all seems like really dumb. It's not like, oh, it's just bad policy or whatever, because there's there's all kinds of policy that people think are bad, and reasonable people can even disagree, but it doesn't seem like there's any real reasonable people having any reasonable disagreements here, right? This is fucking stupid. And again, there's some stuff I want. I don't mean to be selfish, but there's some fucking stuff I want. I need some new lighting. I need good lights, not these fucking cheap plastic ones. And those are expensive. And now they're going to be fucking anywhere between 40 and 60% more. I want a new preamp. I don't need a new preamp, but I want a new preamp. There's a really nice new preamp out that I want. That's going to be a hella more because that shit's made in China. I don't know. I want a new laptop. But I'll just buy that on the secondhand market. But fucking everything we all want to buy. You want a new TV? Guess what? It's going to be hella more. You like that new fucking Volkswagen electronic microbus or whatever? Oh, cool. Maybe Trump will end up tariffing Volkswagen at 104% just to fucking do it. Because he doesn't like their cars or some shit. This is going to be all bad. It's going to fuck everything up. And the worst thing I think the place is going to be worst is at the grocery store. All the good, the high quality, low cost produce comes from Mexico. At least here, I don't know how the rest of the country is, but here in California, so much of the produce is from Mexico. And I mean, that's fine, good, right? That's how you're supposed to deal with the countries near you. Oh, you got tomatoes? We're going to buy a bunch of your tomatoes. This is just going to hit everyone. It's going to hit everyone. It's going to be so fucked up. Up next, we have Hamburglar Dan's favorite congressperson, Eric Swalwell. Hamburglar Dan was calling him Eric Swallowswell, which was a little bit homophobic, I thought, but still kind of funny, I suppose. Hamburglar Dan isn't known for his humor, so. Anyway, here's him talking about the Trump and the tariffs and probably other things.
I know what I'm doing. That's what Donald Trump said last night at a speech to House Republicans. He was talking about tariffs. I know what I'm doing. He just paused the tariffs today. To me, it doesn't look like you know what you're fucking doing. It looks like you brought chaos, Mr. President, to the whole world, most importantly, to Americans. You saw people have their hard-earned retirement safety wiped out, their savings gone. You know what you're doing? No, you just fucked our economy. And now you're going to put a pause on these tariffs because you felt the pressure?
For the second time.
Off all of our allies? People lost their savings? You know what you're doing? You don't know what you're doing. You don't have a clue what you're doing. And by the way, you look weak. You put these tariffs in place. You say they're non-negotiable. You don't get anything in return. And then you put a pause on them. You just look weak. And you make the American worker wonder, does our president even see me? Does he know how hard I work and how big I dream? No, you don't. And today, this pause, while I hope it brings back some level of savings and benefit to the people who lost everything, it just shows and it reminds us why you can't do this job.
That's my congressman now. He's sometimes a little cringe or whatever, but I like that I like kind of that he just talks sort of normal. Like, I kind of like that he swears a lot, but, I don't know if people had their whole retirements wiped out, but yeah, if your retirement's heavily invested in the stock market, then yeah, this volatility is going to be scary for you. Because then you don't know, right? And then people are going to maybe not retire as early as they might otherwise retire. And that puts fucking downward pressure on like wages for younger people who have less experience. Those people are less likely to get promotions at their jobs because the older people are staying in because they don't know what the fuck is going to be going on in like a month or two. And so the knockoff effects here are like, it just cascades down the food chain in a lot of ways. And companies aren't in a position now to do what they sometimes would do, would incentivize some older people to retire, maybe before they were done working or whatever. They're just like, well, we're going to give you a couple of years of your salary, actually. We think it's time for you to retire, and we really certainly don't want to fire you. And so, like, that's probably not going to be happening anymore because there's, like, all this uncertainty in the market. This is fucked up. But I do like that Eric Swalwell, the other thing that's good is to just call the guy weak. He said, you look weak when you do this. When you say that you're going to impose these tariffs like a big, strong fucking man. And then probably China, probably Xi Jinping said, all right, you want to party? Let's party. Right? Probably didn't even tell them what they were going to do. Because in a trade war between China and the United States, China is going to win. Because they fucking make everything. Not only do they make everything, they have all of our IP over there, right? So the new iPhone comes out, or any new product, any hot new product comes out. It doesn't have to be the iPhone. It could be from a smaller business or whatever. Send it over to China to be manufactured. Well, now the Chinese just are like, well, if you guys are doing all this fucked up shit to us, guess what? We make that product now. And then what's the United States going to do? What are you going to do if you're the smaller, medium-sized business? You're going to sue Foxconn? Yeah, good luck with that. And I see somebody in chat. Yeah, nobody wins in a trade war. But what I'm saying is that in a trade war between the U.S. and China, the U.S. is going to have a much worse time of it than China. But this is just all fucking stupid. Even Jamie Dimon, absolute fucking ghoul that he is, thinks that this is all a really bad idea. And under no circumstances do you got to give it to Jamie Dimon. So don't get the wrong impression here.
And that obviously drives a lot of growth. It drives corporate profits. So I think what we're going to see now is corporations making announcement after announcement about, don't expect my guidance to be true. I'm going to hold back here a little bit. These are long-term decisions they have to make. They may want to see the tax bill, which hopefully they can get done in July. So yeah, I think you're going to see a slowdown. I think the economists are probably right to say that you should expect that.
Well, how significant a slowdown? I mean, are you seeing defaults?
Not yet, but I expect them. And the other thing, which we haven't had any slowdown or real recession, and COVID was so short, I almost don't include it, and so long that if you have rates going up a little bit, and inflation is sticky, and credit spreads are gapping out, which they're going to, I think you'll see more credit problems than people have seen in a long time.
And yet, you've got to get ahead of it and cut expenses now. You've talked about the 10% to all of your different groups at JP Morgan. Yeah. You say JP Morgan's going to be fine, but we could see a softening of the macro story.
Yeah. So JP Morgan, I did say to the JP Morgan people the 10%, but I think we just got a little sloppy in the last 5 years. I'm kind of mad at myself. I remind people, what kills companies is complacency, arrogance, bureaucracy. And the little speech I gave, I was talking about Sears and AMP.
Like, I don't like this guy, but he was like, oh, our company got a little sloppy and it's my fault. Imagine God damn it. Imagine Donald Trump saying something like that. I mean, again, this guy's a ghoul. This guy is a fucking ghoul. And he's probably doing this because it looks good or whatever. But being able to go on TV and say, oh, well, the buck stops with me. That doesn't make him a good person or whatever. But imagine Donald Trump saying something like that. He never would. His ego would never let him.
Eastman Kodak. And it's amazing to me that these companies, they just get too lax in what they do. And we've got a little bit of that too. So we're going back to killing bureaucracy. We put some headcount controls in place, not because we're not doing well, not forcing people to cut. I call it just like going for your run and eating your spinach. It's not a big deal. We can handle that, and we'll become a better company. People are having a lot of fun, by the way, raising their hand and saying, why are we doing this? Why can we cut this out? And whatever they're me, I say, just do it. Go ahead. You got my permission.
So are you hearing that from CEOs as well in terms of business managers? Are they now going to start pulling it in and cutting back on various expenses?
I think you're going to see a little bit of that, yes. Yeah.
But how significant would you expect that? Do you personally expect a recession?
I am going to defer to my economists at this point, but I think probably that's a likely outcome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because markets, I mean, when you see a 2,000 point decline, it sort of feeds on itself, doesn't it? Because it makes you feel like you're losing money in your 401k, you're losing money in your pension. You got to cut back.
Yeah. I always remind people markets aren't always right. But sometimes they are right, and I think this time they are right because they're just pricing in uncertainty at the macro level and uncertainty at the micro level, at the actual company level. And then how it affects consumer sentiment, it's hard to tell. Consumers still have jobs. Wages are going up at the low end, which I think is a good thing. But if companies start cutting back, the consumer sentiment changes and business sentiment changes. I think you've already seen business sentiment change a little bit. Hopefully, no one's wishing for that, but
Oh man, yeah, we're in a weird place when Jamie Dimon, just one of the fucking biggest ghouls to ever walk the planet, seems like a voice of reason around this stuff. But I think it's just that he's like an old school business guy, and he knows that it looks good for him to take credit or to take the blame if things aren't going so well. Although JP Morgan is making that company's making a ton of fucking money. The stock price of the company is just sort of a guessing game by people as to I don't know what they think they should pay for the stock. But he's also, the other thing that he did there though, he's like, well, we got to get more efficient, lean and mean. So he's sort of towing that Elon Musk kind of line too. Now you're not going to believe this. Even this motherfucker thinks all this is stupid.
So let's just talk about the reversal to begin with, because that is what happened. And then we can talk about the why. Why did it happen? First, we have to talk about what happened. So last week, we get this unbelievable tariff policy. Tariffs on basically every country in the world. A permanent baseline tariff of 10%. Tacked onto that is an additional tariff, which was calculated based on the trade deficit that another country has with us. So every country got hit with the 10% tariff, and every country that had a trade deficit got hit with a additional tariff proportionate to how large that deficit was. And it was pointed out that this was very sloppy. It was sloppy for two reasons. One, the formula that was used to calculate those tariffs was very dumb, so to speak. And by dumb, I don't mean stupid. I mean, it wasn't targeted. It wasn't precise. To take a market like China or India, where we get a lot of different types of products from, or Vietnam for that matter, to calculate a tariff based only on the deficit is a really simplistic and crude way to arrive at what would be an appropriate or measured or sensible tariff rate. You would
like I'm telling you, dude, fucking this fucking shit that's happening is allowing little racist ass Nikki Fuentes to go on his show and appear to be some kind of fucking scholar. That's how stupid this is. Also this guy, even this guy too, man. What they're this is making scholars out of fucking idiots. This guy, man, this guy knows it's dumb too. To be fair though, I think that this next guy would be pretty consistent on this no matter what. This is Rand Paul.
How did we get here? How did the Republican Party get here, Senator?
How did we all get here? I mean, the whole debate is so fundamentally backwards and upside down. It's based on a fallacy. And the fallacy is this, that somehow in a trade, someone must lose. That somehow when you trade with someone, there's a loser and someone's taking advantage of you and China's ripping you off or Japan's ripping you off. It's absolutely a fallacy. Every trade that occurs in the marketplace is mutually beneficial. If you have a free society and I trade with you, if you want to sell me your coat and I give you $200 for it, we both agree to it and we're both happy with the trade. No American consumer trades with China. They trade with Walmart, or they may buy something from China, but they individually buy something they want and they make a decision. The trade is always a win-win. Now, you could artificially do this accounting between countries and say, oh, trade deficit, look at this trade deficit. But I have a trade deficit with my grocery store. The people who
have a trade deficit with my grocery store is fucking, you know what? Fuck this guy too, but that's kind of brilliant. Yeah, I do. I have a trade deficit with the liquor store around the way, and with the fucking taqueria. That's a good point.
If I work for Corvette and they employ me, they have a trade deficit with my labor. They buy my labor and I never buy their cars. So you can have this artificial accounting in it.
Well, that's actually kind of fucked up that if you work for the company, that if you work building Corvettes, that you're not making the kind of wage to go buy one. But that's a whole another matter, I suppose.
Look like a bad thing, but you have to ask yourself, is trade good or bad? And if you look at the trade deficit, in times of a recession, the trade deficit goes down. So if the tariffs push us into a recession, we could reduce the trade deficit because we're all buying less stuff. We have to get back to the fundamentals of, is trade good or is trade bad?
Well, I mean, again, I don't like the guy. The guy's definitely not my favorite. He's certainly not even my favorite libertarian. But that I have a trade deficit with the grocery store is that's a good one. That one might be sticky too. I might continue to fucking use that one if we're being perfectly honest here, because that's a good fucking point. You don't got to give it to Rand Paul, but I mean, I guess I don't know. I guess in this case, maybe you got to give it to Rand Paul. Yeah, I remember last week. I remember the last week the clip. Oh, there's an old word we used to use: groceries. It's like things in a bag. Oh, that was some shit. I should probably pull a clip of that because that was the funniest fucking thing. Somebody in chat asked who my favorite libertarian is. It's a friend of mine. You don't know him. He goes to another school. Here we go. Don't worry though. This is actually this is all prophecy, and this is all in preparation for the end time. So don't worry, everybody. The end of the world's coming. Shout out to Right Wing Watch. We could not do this show without Right Wing Watch.
You are living in Liberation Day for America. You may not know what that means. There are very few times when the world changes. On Liberation Day, the world changed. It will never be the same. Everything that has existed hitherto is changing. You're becoming the part.
Well, everything's always changing. Yeah. How progressive of him.
Becoming part of a new world order. Not in a bad way. The order of the present world is being shaken by a man called Donald Trump.
So he kind of agrees with me, is that the order of the world is always changing, and so we are always living in a new world order every 10 or 15 years, essentially. But he is maybe not phrasing it that way because this guy's a kook birds, right? Like
self. He is changing the world as we know it. Very few times in history does one man change the world. Alexander of Greece, Caesar of Rome,
and Donald Trump, Napoleon, Caesar, Trump, Hitler,
Charlemagne
the God.
On and on and on. There's few men that change the world. Napoleon. But when they do, the world shifts. You're standing in the shift. Donald Trump has gone to war with Babylon. It is prophecy being...
He's going to war with Babylon. They always talk about this. Alex Jones loves to talk about Babylon.
Donald Trump has been raised up by Yahweh to destroy
Yahweh? No way.
For his beloved America. There's a reason for that. Yahweh divided the nations at the Tower of Babel and declared they would never, ever unite until the Son of God returns and sets up his government, his one world government here on planet Earth. We have a confession from a world leader that globalism is dead. When I told you earlier, you're living in a moment of a changing world, that was not hyperbole. That is a fact. Everything as you've known it before is about to change. If you don't start buying American, you're not going to be buying. Donald Trump is undoing the shackles on this little lady, Lady Liberty, this little lady called America. And when you understand that these tariffs, they are not just policy, they are prophecy. You've got to get that deep in your mind tonight, because now that globalism is dead, it is literally Trump against the world. He has turned the world upside down, and now the nations are clamoring. Everything is unbalanced. And I know mainstream media thinks that's bad, but they couldn't be further from the truth. This is the bold judgments coming up on the world. Yahweh has raised up a man, the breaker himself, to bring to pass those things that must happen in the end time.
All right. Well, that was some shit. So don't worry, everybody. The world's ending. It's the New World Order, but it's good. It's good. And it's Trump against the world. And did you know that now, because of all this, or because of all the tariffs that didn't happen, or who knows, actually, that did you know that the United States of America is going to be the manufacturing capital of the world? I don't know how. Supply chain isn't here. But don't worry, here's Stephen Miller to tell you all about it.
Over the last 20 or 30 years.
Yeah, no.
And by the way, we are on the verge now, because of President Trump's strength and leadership, of fixing our entire global trading system. This is an astonishing fact. Did you know, for example, that we have a $50 billion trade deficit with Japan alone in automobiles? Here's the country we protect. Here's a country that we defend. Here's a country that's an ally and partner of the United States.
And they sell us cars. What the fuck? Honda's a good car. Toyota's a good car. I don't know what to tell you.
Is it that we have a $50 billion automobile deficit with Japan and another $50 billion automobile deficit with South Korea. Our troops are stationed right now in South Korea, keeping them safe and free. Our troops, our soldiers, away from home, away from families in South Korea. $50 billion automobile trade deficit with that one country alone. President Trump is going to fix our global trading relationships. And at the same time, he's going to work with Congress to make America the manufacturing center of the world with the lowest taxes, the lowest regulations, and the cheapest energy.
I love that you hear her. She was like, all right, whatever. She was fucking bored with him. Did you hear her? She's like, all right. Oh, sometimes, even though like you're trying not to, sometimes you give away what you're thinking. And the way they talk about this is it's like this, like for example, the Japanese cars. It's like people aren't even getting anything from it, right? Like we're running this trade deficit, and I don't know, nobody's even getting anything from it. Well, they are. They're getting a Civic or an Accord or a Corolla, and some of the Toyota stuff is built here in the United States because it's easier for them because they sell so many fucking cars. Like that is fucking mind-expandingly stupid. It's mind-expandingly stupid. Everybody, Wall Street is intentionally tanking the stock market.
Is this possibly Wall Street, big business, kind of bowing up to the president, saying we're not going to go along with this. We're gonna show you, and we're going to rattle the stock market?
No, I've heard some theories like that, and I would tell you and our listeners out of hand that isn't what's happening here. The idea that investors are willing to go sell things at a loss and sell into a loss to try to teach the administration a lesson, I don't think it speaks to a good understanding of what these guys' incentives really are. This is capital in pursuit of a return, not a particular agenda. It's capital being driven by fear right now, Tony, that perhaps we're going to see a decline in profits, a decline in wages, a decline in economic growth. And so from my vantage point, running over $7 billion wealth management firm, I get to see the optics to both the stock market, but also regular business, because so many of our clients are business owners. And I got 100 calls on Thursday, Friday, and over the weekend, 83% of whom voted for President Trump, absolutely petrified.
Wait, when you get calls from your investors, do you ask who they voted for? I don't know. I don't think that's how Wall Street works. They're there to make money, and people are not confident in the stock market right now. It doesn't really, Wall Street isn't just like getting together and deciding these things, because if they did do that, and there's some of that, but if they were doing that, things would always just go up or fucking so crazy. Anyway, up next we got Pam Bondi. She does not like the question she's being asked here.
60 Minutes found that 75% of the immigrants who were sent to El Salvador do not have public criminal records. Is that true?
Do you mean in our country?
The Venezuelan migrants who were sent to...
Okay, well, they're not Venezuelan migrants. They're illegal aliens from Venezuela who should not have been in our country, who are committing the most violent crimes. So if you committed a murder in our country, we're going to keep you here, and we're going to seek the death penalty, and we're going to keep you in prison because our victims' families deserve that. But we don't have to charge them with every crime. We can deport them and get them out of our country and save room in our prisons, because they should have never been in our country to begin with.
So you confirm they didn't commit a crime, right? Is that what you're confirming?
Thanks, General Bondi.
And Attorney General, how many cases of fraud?
That's fucking wild. Yeah, like, I don't know who they're this is kind of all opaque, and they're deporting or threatening to deport some people who are totally here illegally, some people who are even citizens. And I don't know, it's just, I guess it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that it's like hard to explain or difficult to answer questions around it if you don't give a fuck, which is what I think's going on. I don't think Pam Bondi doesn't give a fuck. I didn't give a fuck about those people. She doesn't give a fuck what the reporter thinks. She doesn't give a fuck what I think. They think that it's good for them politically to be seen as tough on immigration, whatever that means and whatever that needs to mean. And I think a lot of it's just like fucking they're racist. I think they're racist and they know their base is racist. Up next, this is from the 5. We got, of all people, Boxwine Janine Pirro from the top rope against dumbass Jesse Waters.
Hopefully, when you sit behind a screen all day, it makes you a woman. Studies have shown this. Studies have shown this. And if you're out working, like building robots like Harold, you are around other guys. You're not around HR ladies and lawyers.
What do you
that gives
do?
you estrogen.
What do you
Let
do?
me finish, Judge.
You sit behind a screen.
Yeah. Dana?
Judge Janine's like, sir, what do you do all day? Yeah, he sits in front of a computer and prepares his fucking hot garbage television show and sends emails and fucking kisses the ass of fucking people via email and stuff. He's doing the thing that, see, because he doesn't want to go work in a fucking factory. You know that dude doesn't want to do no fucking plumbing. Doesn't want to do no job where he's got to like work with his hands or like get dirty. But he's like, well, if you do it, it makes you a pussy, essentially. He's like, but it's okay for him. It's okay for him because he's one of the people who deserves it. But don't get too excited about Boxwine Janine Pirro because then she says this.
We found out that there are people who are between the ages of 1 and 4 are getting Social Security, that we've got something like $69 million of taxpayers
That's the
who are
benefit
dead.
for
Okay,
kids
but
whose
let me
parents are dead.
just finish. But the problem is this.
That's the benefit for kids whose parents are dead. She's like, I don't want to hear that. Don't want to hear that. These people don't fucking know anything. Yeah, Social Security, they think it's only for old people and shit, but Social Security, yeah, kids, when their parents die, they Social Security is there to help them. There are people on Social Security disability insurance. The Social Security is there for them too. These people don't get it. Now, this one's great. This is Secretary of Education. Friends, if you didn't see this, you're not going to believe what you're about to see. This is the Secretary of Education for the United States of America. Watch this.
Letter or report that I heard this morning, I wish I could remember the source, but that there is a school system that's going to start making sure that first graders or even pre-Ks have A1 teaching, every year starting, that far down in the grades. And that's a wonderful thing. Kids are sponges. They just absorb everything. And so it wasn't all
especially steak sauce
that long ago that we're going to have internet in our schools. Woo. Now, okay, let's see A1 and how can
this is so fucking amazing.
that be helpful? How can it be helpful in one-on-one instruction? How can it be helpful in absorbing, more information for those fast learners? It can be more one-on-one directed. And those are the kinds of things and innovations that I want to see continue to develop.
Look at the other two people. Oh, man. Oh, one of those people should have made fun of her. That's the A1. Steak sauce. It's for the children. I think we should have more steak sauce and less artificial intelligence. So we got this guy's like a right-wing influencer kind of guy. And here he is at his city council meeting. What the fuck? It's about the fashion, baby. It's about the fashion. You know who's wearing the most clothes? A drag queen. A drag queen is wearing the most clothes. You can't. But also, I've had friends who did drag. I was there when they were getting ready. They were wearing the most clothes, a lot of clothes, layers upon layers of clothes. He thinks that like there are burlesque drag shows. There are burlesque drag shows where people show a little more skin, but those are almost exclusively at 21 and over venues. Or if they're at a theater, the events are like 18 and over or whatever. But if it's like a family fun for everyone event, you better bet the drag queens they're just wearing too much clothes. Just too much clothes. They look fabulous, but they're wearing too much clothes. Probably a little uncomfortable. Up next, we got this is Representative Mary Miller, and she's going to talk about how God controls the sun. So you don't really have to worry about the environment or climate change. God is in charge.
You mentioned God's design, and one of the things that's really bothered me that I've been fighting is these Green New Deal policies that really go against God's design for nature and how He created this world that we live in. Can you talk? I know you've been very active and vocal on solar panels and some of these alternative energy initiatives. Can you talk a little bit about your position there and the work you're doing in DC in that front?
Sure. I've been very outspoken about this. It's a sham. The whole climate change is a sham. First of all, God controls the climate because He controls the sun, and the sun controls the weather primarily.
God controls the climate because He controls the sun, and the sun controls the weather. Oh, friends. Friends, we're so fucked. We're so fucked. No one's coming to save us. We're fucked. So, up next, fellas, do the TSA, does the scan machines at the TSA, do those make you gay?
Where was the Constitution when the Patriot Act was passed? Right? I mean, give me a break. Like I had to be molested at the airport to go to Florida, right? Just to get on an airplane because I'm not going to go through the gay beam machine. I didn't let CJ do it. I wouldn't let him do it.
The gay beam machine.
Said you're getting patted down too, buddy. I don't want them turning you gay.
Oh no. Chemicals in the water that makes the frogs gay. The TSA scanners make him and his fucking friend or his son or his cousin or his brother gay or whatever. Everything out there be making you gay. It's amazing there's any fucking straight people left.
It appears having a guy touch you all over the place is on its face seems worse. But you don't
friend just cop to the fact that you kind of like the human contact.
Really know what those things are doing to you. So
where the imaging goes, or what they're doing,
because it's like
what they're doing in the back room.
They can just take a picture of me
sort of
naked. Like no.
Have you seen those images? You can't you can't fact those.
Maybe so.
I mean, there's somebody somewhere, sure, but those are not erotic in any sort of meaningful way. I don't know if people have seen those images. It's not really a picture of a naked body in the way that he would have you believe. Those pictures are not hot. Up next, this is fucking RFK Jr. And he's going to talk about autism because of course he is.
Vaccines that are given to children during the first 6 months of life were ever studied. We're going to look at vaccines, but we're going to look at everything. Everything is on the table. Our food system, our water, our air, different ways of parenting, all the kind of changes that may have triggered this epidemic. It is an epidemic. Epidemics are not caused by genes. Genes can provide a vulnerability, but you need an environmental toxin. So we know that it is an environmental toxin that is causing this cataclysm. And we are going to identify it. We are narrowly focused on identifying it and using as many scientists as we can from universities and research centers all over the world to focus them through NIH, through Jay Bhattacharya, to focus them on answering this question.
Well, I think everybody would like an answer to it, and the numbers are astonishing.
The answer is those are just people that they're autistic, and they are your neighbors and your friends and members of your community, and they are people, and you should treat them like people. And all indication from research that has been done into this seems to point in the direction that this is genetic, that it is almost purely genetic. If not purely genetic, almost purely genetic. But don't tell RFK Jr. that. Now, this next clip, I thought about whether or not I should run it, because one of the rules in this channel, especially like on Conspiracy Bingo or IDT Night, is that you don't make fun of RFK Jr.'s speech impediment. It's just like what he's saying is crazy town, and you don't need to do it. But there's an impression of him talking to Elon that it was too funny actually not to run, primarily because the RFK Jr. person doing RFK Jr. It doesn't really nail it, but the Elon guy does. Check this out.
Really wonderful to be out here with you today, Elon, and have an opportunity to talk to you.
True. Is it, obviously. RFK, maybe it's okay if I call me up. LOL. I mean, it's like.
Yeah, the RFK one wasn't good, but the Elon fucking person absolutely fucking nailed it. Like, just even the way he said LOL was incredible. It was so funny. So speaking of Elon, and we have one more here, this one before we go into red light. I don't know if you heard that Elon did a video game stream this week. I don't know if you heard about this. Check out it's kind of hard to see it, but watch the chat. You have no friends and will die alone. You have no real friends and will die. So that was, I mean, but the whole thing was amazing, because there was like most of the chats were people in there talking shit to Apartheid Clyde. It was great. He was basically, I guess he did it from what he was saying was an airplane so that he could like show off Starlink. But yeah, people were just making fun of him, because you should always make fun of Elon Musk. So I guess that's the podcast. A little bit short this week for the podcast part of the show, but if you're watching live, as always, stay put. We're gonna go into red light. We're gonna do some different things. And if you have a few bucks out there in podcast land, feel free to send them our way. Go to echoplexmedia.com, click the support link, because now I need to buy new lights. One of my lights seems to be on the fritz. So if you're watching, you're like, oh, little bit more shadow than usual. Yeah, one of the lights seems to be on the fritz. It'll be fine during red light, but trying to create a white light from this light is not going to be great. But anyway, thanks everybody for listening. Hang tight if you're watching live. We'll be back in a minute. This is Boomers by Periscope.